Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my Intel and Corsair discussion video. Now, I'm not trying to relitigate everything that's kind of been going on with Intel and whatnot, and even Corsair to any kind of degree, but I want to discuss pretty much the confluence of these kind of events and what's kind of going on with these hardware manufacturers. Because they kind of dovetail together. Now, with Intel, if you're into the pretty much gaming space, but also into anything with like computers, you've heard about the Intel stability issues with the 13th and 14th gens for desktops. Granted, Intel says that there haven't been any problems on the laptop front, but we don't know completely for certain, because at first they said that there weren't any kind of issues or whatnot, or just to make sure that your BIOSes had the correct kind of performance kind of things, as the motherboard manufacturers would kind of pump these kind of updates out to set certain kind of power limits and whatnot onto these CPUs. However, other kind of gaming outlets as well as YouTube channels have delved into seeing what's going on and wrong with these chips. Now granted, for me, I've usually been an Intel person, mainly because of just how ubiquitous it was and just the stuff ran well, so I just went for them. Granted, now it really kind of affects me, because this kind of is where it kind of dovetails. I was upgrading my computer, and I was like, okay, I was at first going to look into potentially building one myself, but decided to get a Corsair pre-built. Now, everybody's going to be shouting in the comments, you shouldn't have fucking done that. Trust me, I know that at this point, especially when it's like, oh, 13th and 14th gen have real issues here. And the thing is, I've looked into other kind of pre-builts and were kind of leery for them. I got it from Best Buy, and it took me a while to even do this. So then once I started seeing these instability issues kind of popping up, I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? So, of course, the motherboard manufacturers are able to put out their BIOS updates for them. And I'm like, okay, I looked mine up, wanted to see what's kind of going on. I understood that it was like a beta 1, but it was pretty much to make sure that the chip didn't auto-kill itself, because I was worried. There was a kind of bit where I had just one random kind of blue screen, and I'm like, what the fuck? And especially since I'm shifting over to PC gaming, and how I also do my content creation here with making my YouTube videos, and for other kind of work purposes as well. So it's like, I kind of want to make sure that this fucking thing doesn't die on my ass. Well, come to find out, I've learned that Corsair has decided to be a little fuck buddy. Just a little fuck nutter that decides to, oh, we're going to create it so that way our BIOS is just different enough that you can't use the one from the product, your motherboard manufacturer. I'm like, what? Because this is the first time I've really had to kind of deal with anything like this. Granted, sorry, why do I keep saying this so much? But one, I haven't really had to deal with that, and two, I've looked into other kind of channels saying that you really shouldn't need to do it this much. This is kind of like the apocalyptic scenario of what's kind of going on. Corsair has put out a BIOS update, and I have updated mine. It's horrendous. You try and trust these companies, and they don't really communicate that well. I was looking constantly up to see when Corsair would update it, and had to troll around the forums on Corsair to even do that. So this pretty much puts both of these companies on my no-no list because of how they've handled these situations. Intel, of course, is spitting and flaming out like insanity, and I don't really trust them. I was going to look into their stuff with like the Arrow Lake, but they're not fabbing it, which is actually a good thing, but I don't trust them. With everything that I've seen with the investigations on these Intel chips, not specifically Arrow Lake, but with the 13th and 14th gen, what is to stop something going wrong with these ones? AMD also has their kind of issues as well, where they've released the Ryzen 9000 series to kind of weird shit going on, and then also having the sync close vulnerability. But that one, they've been putting out BIOS updates as well to try and mitigate that. Also, that there's some weird fucking shit going on with Windows with AMD, so it's kind of a similar scenario, but it really isn't, because it's not a chip that's auto-nuking and stuff, though I do remember what was going on with certain 7000 series where there was like some miscommunication with the motherboard manufacturers where they were literally getting on fire and fucking killing themselves. So we're not that far removed from AMD's shit doing the same kind of thing, though I have not heard a lot of AMD's ones having the same kind of thing, especially when we see other kind of tech YouTubers talking about like, it's AMD, but it doesn't have Intel in the box. That's insane. And especially that even though Intel is switching to TSMC for Arrow Lake, it doesn't really promote a lot of confidence, especially when you start hearing that their yields aren't working that well on certain kind of things as they're trying to do their fab business. It's insane. And this has really turned me off of pre-builds, because I'm not going to buy a computer that I cannot update the BIOS. That is something that I need to do. Like, this was the worst fucking situation for this to actually kind of happen on, where it's like, alright, normally I probably would have never even known that they changed the BIOS so that way until I needed to do it. This is just the perfect storm of like Intel going completely shit and Corsair being like, fuck, we changed up the BIOS, so we gotta like put something out. Fuck. And Corsair's not doing well either. It made me really want to look into other kind of things and potentially having to rebuild this. Now granted, sorry, I know I've kind of, I consider this more of a lesson. I understand that this is kind of like a giant confluence of events, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to like go pick out parts, maybe have someone else build it for me, and see kind of where it goes from there. Research, do as much as possible. I've been going back and forth of either going for AMD because I was waiting for the new kind of chips, see what kind of goes on with those, and then waiting for Intel. And the Intel stuff is just, their company is being run vastly stupidly right now. And I don't trust Corsair with their kind of products. I would rather look into other kind of ones that aren't into, oh, we're Corsair, we're this kind of brand and all that kind of shit. So I'm looking into different kind of cases, different kind of RAMs, all that kind of stuff, just to get into a settled up kind of space. The only other kind of factor that I'm having in, I know I'm bringing in a lot of stuff, but Intel and Corsair are the main kind of ones here, is to look into potentially NVIDIA's newer kind of graphics cards to kind of set myself up on that, because we're hearing the rumblings. But the thing is, it all kind of comes down to kind of timing. This is a time bomb. I don't know when. It's not a matter of if at this point, it's a matter of when. I got this computer at around May of 2023. So I've been over a year with this thing. It's just, what damage have I been doing without even realizing it, with what's kind of been going on, and what will happen if I start increasing my gaming and doing any kind of other kind of content creation, what kind of goes on with that. I also potentially would look into like the X3D ones maybe, but that would mean that both of those would be coming out potentially at this point, from what rumors and hearsay and all that kind of fuckity-doo-dah is, like early 2025 or whatnot. We'll see how that works out. I understand the ass-burning thing of it is that all of these companies now, we see AMD saying that they're a data center company, so it's going to be like, oh god, what's going to be going on with their CPUs for gaming and stuff like that. NVIDIA as well, they're going to be putting all of their money basket eggs into the fucking money egg basket things into data centers and AI, which is going to be like, oh god, no, what's going to happen, fuck. How's that going to lengthen shit out? How's that going to affect prices? Holy fucking shit. Yes, I picked the unholiest of unholy times to attempt to get into PC gaming. It fucking blows. Though granted, I am shifting over, and we'll be playing more games and stuff like that on that. It's just I've been going through other kind of shows and whatnot and everything. that's just kind of more of kind of how my reviews are going. I wanted to mainly make this to talk about my kind of experience with it, because everybody has been able to research what's going on with Intel. There are problems with the chips. Granted, certain ones are hardware manufacturing, certain ones are like, let's just juice this motherfucker up on a lot of electricity and see what kind of fucking goes on with the performance. Oh god, shit. Granted, those are oversimplifications. However, that dovetailed into my experience with this pre-built. Now, do all pre-builts do this? Probably not. It would be a really kind of fucked up decision to kind of do that with everything with the BIOS. But you're never gonna fucking figure that out until it's the time that you need to fuck with the BIOS. And that is the worst time to figure that out. So then I'm sitting here like, do I just do a ripping thing? Do I just rip out the motherboard and change it out with a new motherboard and a new CPU and do it that way? It's like, well, then I'm out without my PC for that time. Well, do I then just rebuild it with something else and just kind of do that? Well, that also takes time as well. I have to do my research, figure out what's going on, and hopefully this fucking thing doesn't die on me. It has been a horrendous thing while trying to figure out what's kind of going on and trying to also get certain kind of older games through Steam that I'm building up my library. Then it makes me think, should I rebuy certain kind of older games that I had refunded because they didn't work with what was going on? Was this a potential thing with the CPU doing weird shit that might not have been to instability issues, but would fuck with what was kind of going on with these older games that I was attempting to play with? I don't know. I'm new to this shit. I've mainly been doing console, but at this point, console's been going to such a kind of, I wanted to shift over here, and I shift over here, and it's like, our CPUs are killing themselves. Is there a fix for that? Yes. Can I use it? Not until your fucking pre-built person decides to give you it. What did I do to hurt you? Absolutely nothing. You just gave me your money. Fuck. It... But my main objective here is to let people know that pre-builts do this kind of thing with their BIOSes. So, as you are doing research for any kind of gaming system that you want to do, or like mainly a PC system, figure that out first. For whatever CPU you want, GPU, RAM speed, power supply, warranties, all that kind of stuff. I mean, granted, warranties are like an important kind of thing below, do you fuck with your BIOSes, you motherfuckers? Kind of thing. You kind of also want to know that kind of stuff, too. Research your pre-builts as much as possible. I'm not saying that you should completely and utterly always build your PCs, because I was very uncomfortable with doing that myself. I'm like, I would need the space, which I don't really have a lot of space to do it with. I am leery of potentially killing very expensive parts. It's just a scary prospect for me. And that can be with other people as well. Granted, this is pushing me more into that kind of... I apologize for using the word granted so much. I need some other kind of fucking segue word, but I digress. It's a scary kind of prospect, and this is pushing me more into that kind of realm, but I would look into other kind of places as well. Either friends, or professionals, or other kind of businesses. Best Buy has a kind of thing for it that I've been looking into. That's mainly because my family has Total Tech with that kind of stuff. And if you buy all that kind of stuff, and even if you buy it from other places, they can build it for you because you're a Total Tech member. Micro Center is also another kind of one. I am not that close to a Micro Center, and that's pretty much why I'm like leery on it. If I could go there and I frequent it more, that would be another kind of matter entirely. But there are other kind of places, and hopefully more of them kind of spring up because of these kind of issues. Because everybody's like, you'll be alright with a pre-built. It's like, No, granted, fuck me, I apologize again. Most of the tech YouTubers will be like, don't do pre-builts, and they pretty much tear down the motherfuckers and they're like built like shit. I get that. This is on a whole nother level. It's the base, it's the BIOS of the system. That's a big important component. And if you cannot update that effectively, you're fucked. Hello, paperweight. So, I hope I got that kind of clear, and I just kind of want to discuss this and let people know about this kind of practice and to have them have that kind of forewarned knowledge to always look into that. I didn't know that that was a thing that was done. I understand why companies do it, because then you're captive to them, and if something goes wrong, you have to buy a whole nother computer. Yay! But no. So, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.